And we're gonna pivot and talk some fights here. Let's get it.
The prime example of this,
Love the next fight. Love the
yeah,
next fight.
we had Khama Worthy versus Jai Herbert, and I mean, both guys kind of on a downward trajectory, but both guys with dangerous hands, and Jai Herbert, at least you could say, is a guy that you could say still has some potential. I think Khama Worthy kind of is what he is at this point. I don't think he has any Charles Oliveira turnaround in his future, but.
Nah.
But Jai Herbert's a guy that came in with pretty big hype train. I mean, people expected some things from him, and essentially it was what 0-2 in his last, in the UFC, I believe, or is it 0-2 and one?
Yeah, no, you were 0-2 with losses to Francisco Trinaldo and Renato Moicano, and oddly enough, Trinaldo's on the same fight card.
Yeah, and then even Vegas still giving him respect at -180 favorites. I mean, he's a talented guy, and he's a guy that we kind of wanted to see right the ship, and. But Khama Worthy also a dangerous guy for a guy that's going to strike with him, like striking with Khama Worthy. Take it at your own risk. He does have that ability to throw some big bombs, and so I thought it was a good matchup, a good test for both guys, and Worthy at that +155 underdog. Taking place in the lightweight division. Jai Herbert's a very tall, rangy lightweight. I didn't write down how tall he was. He looks very tall in there for the division.
I believe he's 6'2", 6'1", which tall
Yeah,
for
so
155.
very tall for 155. So I mean, and it's like it looks tall in the cage too. And I mean, this fight, I mean, pretty much all Jai Herbert, which is, I mean, Jai Herbert looked great. And not only did he look great because all we heard about while they're telling us about this prospect is that he's this elite striker. And then, I think he got out grappled in one fight. And, he just hasn't really been able to show us these skills that we kind of hear whispers and rumors about. We hear he's a really good striker. But, I mean, this fight, he was able to put his skills on display. Just, I mean, a striking clinic. The final barrage, I mean, was not a striking clinic. It was literally essentially just like a street ass whooping, just right, left, right, left, right, left. Not a lot of technique. I mean, but it was blood in the water. Go get the kill. And the kind of intangibles impressed me more than the tangibles as far as like, oh, he didn't turn his wrist over enough on that right hand. Like, no, but just the intangible to go for the finish and find it was impressive, especially on a guy on a skid.
I will say the combo that opened up Worthy to that finish was like a right hook, left jab, right uppercut.
Yeah, that
Beautiful
uppercut.
three-piece.
Yes,
Beautiful
and
three-piece.
that's the proficiency that we've heard so much about.
Right.
Boxing
And then he realized he had him hurt, which I love the killer instinct we saw too, because he just went after him. And Khama Worthy's pretty dangerous, man. Like gets a lot of wins by finish. And Jai Herbert's been subbed and been KO'd in the UFC for his two losses. So it's like
it's been finished, yeah. So
and just like a little side note on this, I think an interesting bet here would have been if you're going to take Worthy, you wouldn't have taken him to win the decision, I assume. So you could have actually got him at +250 to win inside the distance. So just a little betting shout out right there. I wouldn't have hated that bet. Wouldn't have hated that bet.
Because that was his path to victory, as we like to discuss when talking about betting for sure. And I mean, as kind of was Jai Herbert's. Like this was a good matchmaking matchup. I mean, this fight did exactly what it was supposed to do, which is boost up Jai Herbert. I do believe he was kind of the only prospect that like kind of seized the opportunity the UFC was giving him on these prelims, at least so far. And gets the knockout 247. This is the definition of saved his career because he could go on to do awesome things.
For sure. And would have probably gotten cut had he lost here.
Exactly. So, like, I'm glad we get to watch him fight again and hopefully build upon a good win over. I mean, Khama Worthy's a decently well-known opponent to UFC fans. That's a respectable win. I mean, he hasn't gotten a lot of wins lately himself, so it's not like he's not a world beater. But, I mean, getting Khama Worthy, I think getting a win over Khama Worthy means more than, like, knocking out some the contender series guy we've never heard about. You know what I mean? Like that's
I feel the exact same way. I feel the exact same way, and I think the odds kind of reflected that too. I mean, it wasn't that far of a fight. Like that was a very winnable fight for either man. So it's not like they gave Jai Herbert an easy victory for a third fight to keep him there. Like they actually made him earn his spot. And I also love Jai Herbert's nickname too. I think it's Black Country Banger. That's a hilarious
Black
nickname.
Country Banger. Yeah. It probably has a different meaning over there than it does. Yeah, I mean, obviously it is what it is, but it's their slang over there. He's from a very like part of England that we don't get hear from all that often.
Right. It's super interesting because they're like almost like the redneck part of England, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because like we hear the Liverpool, the Paddy, the Batty, the Darren Tills, and then there's like the Leon Edwards. He's from a different part, and I think Bisping's from different part, and there's different sections over there. And I don't know obviously that much about it, but he's from a different part than all those guys.
Yeah, so I just looked it up, and like Black Country England is the most center west part of the country.
Okay.
So it's kind of in between like what's going to be, like, I guess, like London on the south, and then like Manchester and those other places in the north. So it kind of sits out in the country in between like the way. It looks like it's a pretty like what's the word, industrialized town where it's just a lot of factories and stuff like that. So probably a pretty blue collar. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, for sure. I mean, and he's a fun guy. He's a fun guy. Yeah, he cut a pretty good promo afterwards. He seems entertaining on the mic, good in front of the camera. So I'm glad he's sticking around. Like I said, with a loss here, especially a bad loss, probably, has to earn his way back. And, I'm glad we get to see some more Jai Herbert moving forward. Hopefully, he looked damn good.